Travel draw, it's always fine. Travel draw, let your imagination soar. Travel draw, bring art to every door. No need to be perfect, just have some fun. Travel draw for everyone. So grab a brush or a pen or a crayon, make a mark any way you can. In this world of shapes and lines, we'll see creativity shine. Travel draw, let your imagination soar. Travel draw, bring art to every door. No need to be perfect, just have.
Welcome everybody, and we can only start with one thing.
Unless, of course, war were declared.
What's that?
War were declared.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the local or latest events going on in the world. This is our Dining and Doodle, or excuse me, Dribble Draw, our topical stream where we also talk about topics. We draw characters for our mangas and comic series that we run, and we also draw a request at the end of each season. Around the second and at the end of the second hour, we will start with that. Today we have an interesting drawing request. Definitely one that's gonna be unique for us to draw. One character I've drawn, I know about. I don't remember if I ever drew her, and the other one I've drawn before, or I've never seen before. So it's gonna be interesting. But let's talk about what's going on with the world. So, needless to say, unless you have had your, head in, the sand for last week, America bombed Iran, particularly their nuclear facilities. This has, of course, sent many people in social media in a bit of a tizzy, going on about, hey, this is not good, this is starting World War III, all that kind of nonsense, and we're going to be talking about that. So today we're going to be bringing up some things that most sites and most people haven't really been talking about, because I feel there is a group of audience these days that don't know where exactly all this kind of started and why this had to happen. Notably, right now we are currently in a ceasefire. I have to put question marks to it, because it's a ceasefire, I think, name only right now, because both Israel and Iran have kind of violated that ceasefire from when they were on, or when they said, hey, yeah, we'll agree to a ceasefire, yeah, and then immediately they both do it. And there's a lovely little clip that we'll show later from Trump this morning as he was getting on to go to a NATO meeting, you never really thought the President of the United States would let out the F-bomb, but he certainly did. And honestly, it was deserved. Damien, how's it going? So today we're going to be doing a little bit of that. We're back to doing Witchn. Love Potion Lament is almost done. It's going to be out for Patreon sponsors probably tomorrow night. The only thing delaying that is I've got one panel to draw, and then I think 2 panels to touch up. And then I gotta put down the script and word balloons and whatnot. It's going good. That's good. Good to hear. Good to hear. So, yeah, we're gonna be talking about some of the issues, and we're gonna go over the history of Iran and why this kind of had to happen. Because this is not something new. This is literally, I think, the 6th time they've been stopped from building a nuclear weapon, and Yeah, I mean, there's some issues also that we need to look at with Israel as well, because Israel needs to, make themselves exposed as well, and that's part of the treaty that is trying to go through, but we'll see how well they'll come about. But now, I mean, it's nice to come back to finally drawing some of the regular comics, having stuff like Witchn, stuff like Demon Blade back in my regular rotation, not just focusing solely on Love Potion Lament, which is going to be... I don't think I'm going to have anything released next weekend. And that's partially because this is going to be a 16-page drop of a very detailed and heavily worked comic going forth with Love Potion Lament. And it's the prequel to Witchn, so people don't know. Basically, it's going into a contest with Flip Paint Studio where they asked the audience basically to draw in basically the concept of first love into a story, and you had to kind of do it 100% original. It was made specifically for this contest and all that. So that's what's going forth. Also, what do you think of the idea of the next Dining and Doodles, if you still do that, or Dribble Draw? I apologize. Annoying that I just want to know if the fate, in case I forgot, took the DA notes after the stream. Dining and Doodles is no more. We kind of incorporated it here in the Dribble Draw. It's the second and third hour of Dribble Draw. What happened to my I voice? Well, I can put on an I voice. Right now, it's hot as balls here. I will not joke. I went out for a walk yesterday morning, and it was, rising of the sun, and I was baking by the time I got halfway through my regular walk. I was actually accustomed to the fit. You mean the squeaky voice? The squeaky, high-pitched voice? Because we also have AI voices that we can do. That we've been asked to do, and that got voted down. But we had actual AI voices helping out with the voicing. But a lot of people just wanted to hear the regular voice. That's what got voted on. I can even go back and let me see the results of that poll. Let's see here. It's gonna be one of the older ones. Let's see, posts. Let's see. Yeah, let me pull it up here. Yep. 62% said keep the original voice. Or keep my current voice as just natural, no editing, no nothing. We had the return to Chipmunk voice was only 5%. AI voice that we had for Amelia from ReZero, AI voice was 14%, so that was the second highest. And the Tifa and Saber were 10%. And then using AI male voice was 0. So, that's it for the former. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, it's just a matter of making sure that people are getting, what they prefer. And so that's why we don't do the AI voices. That's why we're not doing the Chipmunk voice anymore, because a lot of people kind of felt a little down by that. And it does show. The numbers are improving with the regular voice. So, yeah, it depends on each person. But, yeah, going back onto the subject, so, with the issue that's occurred over the last, I'd say almost, 5 days? People have become aware, well, a little bit more, probably about a week. People have become aware of this whole agreement that Iran would show where they were with the nukes and come to a peace agreement, or else they, and in the past this has been an issue regularly with them, and the or else came about, and well, Trump, called the bluff. They're like, yeah, we're not gonna play this game. We've been playing this game for several decades. We're not playing this game. Hey, take it or you're in trouble. And that's what basically happened. And so for those that are wondering, it's like, are we at war? The answer is no. This is about the 5th or 6th time Iran has had their nuclear materials destroyed. It is not unheard of to be done. This is just the first time it's been done by the U.S. dropping a bunker buster onto a nuclear facility and minimizing the death toll, basically. And whether or not, you can disagree, one way or another, you can disagree. Hey, I don't like, didn't like what happened there. And in a way, I'm not a fan of, having to take this action, but I understand the action had to be taken. And it goes and shows with a lot of people. The polls, and we'll show the polls a little bit later. A lot of people supported it, the action that it was taken. On all sides. It wasn't just, hey, this is one side saying, hey, we'll do this. I really need to deal with the fingers a little bit better here. Trying to show, a very bored face here, or irritated face, as this character is. But yeah, we've been dealing with this sort of situation for a couple decades now, and it's finally come to a boiling point. And every president, God, pretty much every president since I've been alive, with the exception of probably Reagan, was putting up with this crap. Maybe even, I don't remember if Bush Sr. did, but Bush Jr. or W. did, and Clinton did, and Obama's did, and Biden did, and Trump in his first term did. They all, were quiet and peaceful in Iran doing this. And they're saying, like, no, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do this. And finally, Trump's like, I'm tired of this. No, you take it or else. And that's what happened. So what boiled it down was that, the fact that they've been attacking Israel and sponsoring terrorism for years, including with this whole situation with October 7th, which initiated a lot of the attacks, just added to the flames and made it a situation where Israel was deeply involved in. They're not 100% on the clear either, and in my mindset, while I support Israel's right to existence and whatnot, I do not support, just blatantly going out and attacking people and destroying them. But, Israel at least has been precision on its strikes. Iran is not. Iran is just like, hey, we're going to attack whatever civilization and whatnot people. We're just going to, cause terror as terrorists did. And that's what's sort of been the issue. And we're going to bring up our evidence as we go, but I need to see where I'm at with this character and when I'm drawing him. I do need to do his goatee. I honestly, I've introduced this character already in the comic, and I've not even given him a name. All I have him listed as is Ida's bully in this comic series. I don't even have a name. I'll have to come up with a name for him in the coming days. I know he's Hispanic in nature, which is why he calls Ida Bruja from the get-go, and Witchin. Which is appropriate. I mean, she's a witch. Thus, Bruja is very appropriate, but it's sort of the way he infers it, and what he'll say next that kind of proves he's a bit of an ass. And I mean, when telling the story, it's that I can't have Ida have a perfectly happy story when there's a huge amount of conflict going on throughout the series, and that's, I gotta show the conflict. Zoom out a bit there. And let's get to the first part of the talk. So, we have the history of Iran. I am not going to go all the way back in the history of Iran. We're just going to be going to the more modern issue of Iran and its situation. But we're not actually going to touch there. We're first going to go on about the actual event. So, of course, this is AP done on the 22nd, so 2 days ago, about the actual bombing, how the U.S. bombarded Iran nuclear sites without detection. It's a B-2 bomber, folks. B-2 bombers have been around since the 80s. They are the stealthiest of the stealth aircraft that we have. We don't use them that often because these are, you know, deterrent. These are specifically for deterrence. And with it, they dropped a bunker buster over 30,000 pounds in weight onto several sites. So this is supposed to be Fordo, the nuclear facility, one of the places they bombed. This is the picture afterwards. This white is the what people don't realize, this white is the concrete from the bunker. It puffed up from the explosion. So when people are like, oh, there's nothing here, this is the white of the bunker, and if I can zoom in onto this photo, which I don't think I can, it's not gonna let me. And of course now we're away from the entire story. There are holes like right here and right here that the bombs dropped. So as you can see, I'm putting my mouse in here as close as I can show you. And all this white is just concrete and dust and all that. Nice mountain. Yeah, essentially, it's a mountain. And people are like, well, where's the crater? Where's the crater? A bunker buster is not going to create a crater. It's going to dig deep and it's going to blow up from within. There may be a new cave system buried. I wouldn't go exploring with that because it had nuclear material inside and is likely radioactive. But yeah, this was the situation as it was reported. Pretty amazing setup for the explosion and the attacking of. And it does show things. Lizzie Poo, hey, what's going on? Nothing much. We're gonna be we're talking about a couple different things. We're gonna be doing art. We're doing art as well as we do it. But today we're talking about, well, the threat of World War here with the whole Iran bombing and whatnot and what's involved here. So we had that June 22nd Iran conflict. So this is CNN's coverage. Doing great. Just took a break from work. Good to have you here. Love having people come in from some of the platforms. So basically, this is their take on it. The Iranian strikes. One of the threats that Iran said they were going to do at the end that a lot of people were saying is going to be the Strait of Hormuz. Now, here's the problem. Iran doesn't own the Strait of Hormuz. No one controls the Strait of Hormuz. It is, and if they tried, they'd have to deal with the U.S. military, or particularly the U.S. Navy. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, Iran's got over 200 ships. America's got a couple thousand ships, and they're far more powerful because we already won a battle with Iran on the ocean, on the sea. We utterly destroyed an attack they did several years ago on the sea. We are not worried about Iran and their navy. So the worst they can do is they can put a bunch of mines and cause indiscriminate damage, which has caused a lot of ships to be on halt and going nowhere because insurance is not covering it. So it is an interesting situation, but it's basically, if Iran did that, they'd have to answer to their biggest buyers. People like China, people like Russia, the people who actually buy their products. Now, we in the U.S., we don't buy their products. We buy, from other sources in the Middle East. We buy from Syria and all that. And most of our oil comes from a different strait. So we're not worried about the Hormuz Strait because it goes on the other side. It goes towards the Pacific. We don't really send ships from the Middle East to the Pacific. We send ships from the Middle East to the Atlantic and ships from Asia to Pacific. That's why we do it differently. It's more a threat to WorldCon, situation, and it'll hurt Iran far more in their situation. So where Iran sits right now is they did attack a base in Qatar with no one there. So what other platforms do I stream on? Thank you. So Lizzie on Kick is asking what other platforms we stream on. We stream on Twitch, we stream on YouTube, and we stream on Twitter and Kick all at the same time. So it's multi-stream. We do all those platforms. So you're seeing the sort of little flags come up, with each person's name, which platform they do. I think Twitter's the only one that cannot chat. I'm sorry, Twitter, if you're there, you can leave a comment, but at the moment you cannot chat. I don't know how we can change that. That's going to be a matter of what Twitter does with their streaming in the future. And I don't know how long we'll still be on Twitch. It's going to be a matter of, hey, Twitch is how Twitch handles multi-streaming, because they're coming down on multi-streaming lately. And if they want to cut me off, they cut me off. But we're on Kick, we're on YouTube, we're technically also supposed to be on Rumble, but Rumble for some reason doesn't seem to work with Streamlabs. You frequently post on YouTube and TikTok. YouTube, yes. TikTok, no. It's the one platform we're not on. And I'm not on there for good reasons, because that's more... If you're going to be found on TikTok, you need to do little segmental videos, and we do long streams. We don't really do segmental videos. We do have a few music videos on YouTube, but not many, and right now they're on hold while we deal with an editing problem on our end that we can't get those done, cut down. Although they're edited, and that's the worst part. It's like, we have them edited, ready to go, but I can't export. It's like, ugh. But we're working that out. And speaking of which, let's get back to the drawing of the subject. As we talk, so essentially, yeah, we have the whole situation. Well, if you ever need help with creation, do let me know. I can help with video editing or clips. Thank you. definitely might take you up on that offer. We definitely will be looking into editing in the future, depending on how well we do. Kick is, uncharted territory for us. So I'm definitely interested to see how Kick comes about over the few weeks. We do, and for people now to know, the schedule did change this week, or this past week. We are doing two gaming shows, as per requested. We do a game stream on Fridays at noon, Eastern Standard Time, and we do another gaming stream, which is Stardew Sunday, on Sundays at noon, Eastern Standard Time. And then we do Drivel Draw here on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. There are other streams and other times I'll be on other things. Yeah, sure, I could get you on Discord and Insta. Yeah, just, you can see my little socials right there in the bottom corner. As they pop up, you can contact me through any of those. I don't know if I have Discord listed in there, but I'm going to push Discord a little bit more. But Insta, you saw Insta pop up. Oh, there's Discord. Discord's there too. Yeah. So you can contact me through those. Tomorrow night we will be on Anime Anti-Climax, as per usual, our monthly stream. We're going to be talking about Galaxy Express 39. Because that's the request for that stream for this month. So we'll be talking about that movie series, and we will be talking about the next series will be Masamune's Revenge, and it'll be my request for the year. Whether or not we have something else come up with that I suggest or not. But yeah, it's gonna be, we'll be doing that, and then eventually we'll come back to Adventure Time, because we've been going through Adventure Time as well. On that. So that'll be on Septum Sens versus the World channel on YouTube. That is where they host it. Occasionally I'll pop in on some others, like Movies Galore last week. I was in on the Clerks Animated, Inside Movies Galore. So I mean, it was an interesting conversation about a failed animated project. I'm kind of brought in as the art/animation expert. Often on these streams, having my experience for several years in doing art and study of animation, and meeting and knowing several people in the industry over the years, so it helps to kind of have that knowledge. So yeah, definitely. Other things. Yeah, commissions are gonna be opening up soon. So people have been asking, hey, you gonna do commissions, or anything. So we do requests here on this show. That is part of a weekly thing. We have people come in, they do requests, and we'll do one request each week. Supposedly, when we do the Triple Draw, I mean, it may be delayed due to health or something like that. As it was last week, it was kind of delayed because my stomach issues were acting up. But we do a request, and that is the third and fourth hour of this stream. We do separate it so people can be like, hey, I want to watch, the art request, which I'll just go ahead and show you what this week's request is. I've already had to sketch it out. We are recreating this scene from Dragon Ball Z, but with Vicky from Fairly Odd Parents, and I forget her name. I'll have to look it up appropriately here. But it's Annie from Little Einsteins. Was the request that was put in a while ago. So we're actually going to be recreating this scene in the second half of the show. So for those who want to catch in and tune in for that, that'll be interesting. Of course, we do comics and animation. Well, I mean, we do comics. We don't do animation, excuse me. I used to do animation. I don't these days. It's too much labor intensity for what I have. Hey, I just sent my portfolio on Insta. Cool. I will look at it when I get the chance. So it won't be until after the stream, but I will definitely look at it and get in touch with you. Um, so yeah, as of right now, we're gonna be doing a few things differently coming in the few weeks. Like I said, we'll do some commissions. Commissions are treated differently than requests. I won't do a commission on stream because a commission can be adult oriented, which they have been in the past. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Lizzie. Glad to have you here. But yeah, talking back about the subject at hand. So, as I've stated before to people, I am in my mid-40s. I was born in 78. And, in fact, my birthday's coming up in a few weeks. But, pretty much my entire, well, I mean, definitely my entire life, Iran has been an issue. It's always been Iran being an issue. To say, oh, you know, hey, they just want, you know, peace and whatnot. This is a regime, because it is a regime, that executes women for dancing. And I've said, it's a great place for trans, but not gay. Because if you're gay and you come out and liking a guy, they will give you the surgery without a choice. And you are effectively treated as far lower class than other people. And I mean, it's better than other parts of the Middle East that'll just throw you off a roof, but it's not a good place. Never has been. It was nice in this, you know, from what I hear, back in the 60s to 70s, it was fine. And then the Ayatollahs took over. And it's kind of like, hey, and then the Fire Nation attacked. And so it's just been absolutely horrible from that point on to pretty much anyone involved in, okay, he's got black eyes, humane efforts with beliefs and concepts around, you know, typical things like, hey, you know, maybe women deserve to have the right to vote. Maybe women deserve to live when they do a dance. Maybe they shouldn't be beaten when their hair is exposed. I know it's a strange concept. I mean, who would ever think that? But yeah, that is law in Iran. Those are actual laws. They will beat women if their hair is showing. If they're not in burqas, they tend to be, well, not treated well. I don't want to go into full details, but there have been cases of battery acid thrown in faces. Lots and lots of mutilation, stuff like that, that is not friendly to the platforms that I'm airing on, so I'm trying to be very careful on what I can say they do. And this is not like hyperbole. People have escaped these scenarios and fled Iran and showed this. It is not a nice place to be. Let's put it that way. It's just a horrific place to be. When we talk about situations with them in the past, one has to come into the concept of that they have been a supporter of terrorism for years. It's sort of how the way they work. They'd have two armies, essentially. They'd have their regular, militarized army, and then they'd support terrorist organizations to act as sort of a secondary army to them. And with that concept, they would go out and be like, oh, well, you're speaking out against the public, we're going to beat and berate you. And they've had almost every president, I believe, in their war sites. I mean, they've tried to, at least with Trump lately, within the last year or so, tried to attack him twice. I know they've threatened him, threatened Obama, they've threatened, Bush, and I'm sure they threatened Clinton. I don't know about Biden, and I'm sure they threatened Trump in his first term. So it's a matter of, this is not a new player. This is very much an old player, an old game. And Israel by no means is, like I said, in the clear here either. They tend to, understandably, they're the only Jewish state in the world. And they're trying to protect their livelihood, their being, as, places like Iran send out terrorist groups to attack them and destroy things, and they shoot missiles into at their people. But at the same time, you can't look at it as, yeah, that's one thing, but you can't keep attacking them just because, they threw a missile at me, so I gotta throw a missile at them. It's never going to be an ending war, and that's what's trying to be stopped here. That's why the peace talks are very important and whatnot when we bring these up. That's why we get scenes like, let's go back to the top, like this, from the Trump. If I can get it to play.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. All I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful. We'll see. I'll let you know.
And are you going to be the agreement? It's a new dawn in the Middle East, thanks to the agreement you managed to achieve. What are your future plans for the region, for Saudi Arabia, Israel, Gaza, the hostages?
Look, you're asking me about women in the Middle East. It's getting a lot better. Things are happening at a high level. As you know, Saudi Arabia's done a really good job. It's coming out far faster than I thought.
So, this is sort of where we kind of talk about, we're on sort of like on the razor's edge trying to bring peace about a situation that's been going on since the 30s. Well, technically the 40s. So, for those people that don't know, Iran's creation, why Iran is called Iran. So, for centuries, they were Persia. That was their namesake. They were Persia. Iran got its name from Aryan, because the Nazis. So, when you basically talk about, hey, where's not a good place to really stand out? Probably the area that, got its namesake, got its building and build up from the Nazi regime. It was probably not a good concept. And it goes to show with the same concept of, the hatred of Jews and whatnot. And we'll get into, the full history of what's gone on as we go into it, but I do want to keep playing this. I just want to keep interrupting a little bit because we're not playing the clip uninterrupted. So
we're very happy about what's happening with women in the Middle East.
No, I'm talking about a new dawn in the Middle East that you managed to achieve last night.
Yeah.
It's in, the region is going to a new place with
That's
this
true.
agreement. Can you tell us what's your future plans
Yeah.
for Gaza, for the hostages?
It's a new dawn. I appreciate the question. You're very nice. Who are you?
Thank you. I'm Neria Kraus from Israeli Channel
Very
13
good.
News.
Well, we have to have Israel calm down because they went on a mission this morning.
Did you,
I got to get Israel to calm down now.
did you get to speak with the Prime Minister? Did you talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu last
I
night?
speak to everybody.
Are you going to call the
You
Prime
urge
Minister?
both sides not to violate the ceasefire, but reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think
what
they
is
both
your...
violated it.
what is
I
your
don't think
next
I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Have you spoken to him this morning? How confident are you that Iran's capabilities have been completely demolished?
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying.
okay, and we're gonna get into the a little bit of the CNN news coverage. That is actually something else we'll bring up in the next hour and whatnot. I just kind of really, like I said, it's all coming in here, and there's been a messy coverage. I mean, a lot of people have been happy for this, but there's a lot of people negative against it. I'm kind of a mixed bag here on, I don't want us to go into another war. But I mean, at the same time, we cannot let a group that has been calling for the death of our, society for over almost 50 years now, to have the weapon that could easily destroy thousands upon millions. It's unheard of. Even the dirty bomb would be in trouble. And it's the stuff that we worry about. And the people who sponsor terrorism, the people who bring this terrorism to us, tend to be supported by Iran. And ironically, since this bombing, I think they've captured 6 people in the country, in the United States, that are Iranian on illegal means with not so good meaning. So it's 6 people have already been arrested. It is just ridiculous. And while I do support, doing this bombing, yeah, I do question, hey, are we running into scary territory? But let me also bring in the concept of, was it legal? Was it constitutional? Could the president actually do this? And the answer is yes. Yes, the president can. It's within the war powers of the president. Well, not just the war powers, but the regular powers of the presidency. Every president, pretty much in my lifespan, has had, pretty much. I can't speak. No, Carter did it too, I'm sure. So, and I barely, I was teething by the time Carter was getting out of office. Okay, so every president has done similar actions. They've just not done a bombing like this as a deterrent. It's been, they'll bomb troublemakers, they'll attack troublemakers, they'll hire assassinations. It's not unheard of. It's been something that's been going on in the U.S. for pretty much since the CIA has been involved, since the military intelligence has come a thing. It's happened quite a lot. It really has. And there's stuff that we still don't know. There's blacklisted stuff that we still don't understand, that how much America's, caught in and tested in. But this one is out in the open. We know about it. We learn about it. Hey, they pulled a wonderful ruse and they kept the intelligence quiet, so no one really knew what was coming and when it was coming. But it happened. It's done. Few casualties are done, if at all. We don't know about, fully about, if anybody was in the facility in Iran at the time, but it was like 2 in the morning there, so it couldn't have been a large amount of staff. And then there's also talks, maybe they removed stuff and whatnot, which, from understanding from them watching through satellites, no, it hasn't. Nothing has been removed. It's a great rumor on the internet, though.
They're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
Do you believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
No, Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people, and the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times, but the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated, but Israel...
Okay. This is the moment that everybody's talking about, right here. So what is about to be said by the president, it's never been said before by a president. And appropriately so, because this is a man who is being really tested between both sides, trying to play both sides and bring them to peace. And when you're trying to do that, it has got to be the greatest headache. And each president gets tested with this, but this is, I think, the first time we really see a president and be like, really sick and tired of this mess. And this is where it comes in.
Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the doing. Do you understand that?
Oh, they edited it. They edited it. All right. That was not edited. He said it live on television. Apparently, the news source we got this from, it was, pretty much live and whatnot. As you gauge success of Buster Bolton. See, this is Fox News Live. I kind of wanted to pull them up to show things, but we'll get to it later. We're going to get back to the drawing. As that kind of went long, I wanted to play some clips, which is, we usually do not do clips. Normally we just do the news stories as they are, and they're wrong, and I will read them out. But because of what's been going on, I kind of felt like we needed to have the president in his own words, and we needed to play a few things as that weren't coming through. Plus, the namesake and the reason I chose the concept for war was declared, being that Futurama episode joke at the start of one of the episodes early in the show, where basically war was just flat out declared against a spider planet for some stupid reason in that series. And I was just like, yeah, that's a lot of people are taking the world as this is the concept. That it 100% is this battle between mindsets with individuals, and be like, hey, my concept of, going to war is by this means, and my concept of going to war is this means. And it's basically spoiled children going to war. That's all it is. And when you try to act like the mature adult in that situation, try to, take away the violence and whatnot, it's not easy. It's not easy. Are we in World War III? No. We are not in World War III. I will say, what people think World War III is going to be, they don't know. They don't understand. So a lot of people assume, hey, now that we have nukes on the table, since the end of World War II, that we're looking at a nuke situation. Not likely, because there's the whole constant threat of, equal destruction. And you don't go to war for equal destruction. You go to the war to win. And so, how will the wars be treated? The next war, when we have sort of like a world war, it's going to be fought with ones and zeros. And it's going to be more digital and drone attacks and less people on the ground. It will end up with people on the ground, because eventually you'll have a situation where technology's not being able to be mass produced, and we're going to have to start putting people in front of each other. And lo and behold, what comes of that, we only God knows at that point. But to think we're going to have this massive destruction, it's going to be destruction, but it's going to be in a different source mindset. And when people don't understand, in a way, we're already in that attack. And that's one of the threats we worry about with Iran, is because whereas we're protected militarily wise, we are strong against them. When we talk about technology, that's a different story. Because the further technology progresses, the further it becomes a weakened door. And we lead ourselves up into potential cyber attacks that will devastate the world, devastate the economy, devastate, productions. Technology may even put us back in a situation of the early 1900s in lifestyle, where refrigeration is something you have to struggle to have, where air conditioning doesn't really work, where heat doesn't work, where you're having to find, grow your own food to live, that kind of situation. And many people are like, oh, we're going back to the 1800s. No. I mean, it's pretty much anything before the Great Depression. It'd be that kind of setup. It may take a few years for mass production to be brought back up for food and whatnot. And by that point, we might have some form of communication up and going. But you're talking about the bigger threat to World War III is going to be not a nuke, but an EMP. And it's been something that we know is coming. And we hope to not be the ones on the end of the receiving end of that. We don't really have protection against an EMP. Oh wait, I've been drawing Theodore so much I haven't been drawing Ida. Ida and her talisman. So when we talk about, you know, threats like EMPs, and then there'll be other things like EWEPs. Most people don't understand what an EWEP is. EWEP is, so we already have drones. We've had drones in the last war. A way to counteract them are magnetic rifles that shoot electronic pulses. And we're not talking like, you know, a laser weapon. We're not talking something that'll, you know, blow a hole in somebody. It's actually the opposite. It sends a magnetic pulse to disrupt circuitry and technology. And kind of weaponry has been going on and being built over the last couple of decades to basically handle, you know, just such a threat. You know, hey, we can take down this, you know, the enemy's technology, and the reason you don't want to blow it up all the time is because you want to learn from it. You want to take, you know, cross-reference, you know, what do they know, what do they have, and so that's what you kind of focus on when you develop weapons and technology, and that's the kind of weapons we're talking about when we talk about World War III. It's not. There was always this statement since World War II is, you know, we don't know what kind of weapons World War III will have, but we know World War IV will be sticks and rocks. Because basically we're gonna the infrastructure and the reliance on technology is so dependent that we need to cancel out that technology. That's how weapons of World War III are being designed and being developed, and that's why they're the way they are. And so we're going to be seeing stuff develop that we have no clue about. The fact that we know, the only reason we knew about the B-2 bomber this time is we already knew about it. And that's the only reason why the B-2 bomber was used. We know about them, they don't really get used, so in order to use them properly, we need to just, use them for once, and that's what Trump did. It was a successful mission in the sense of it went in, did its job, came back, no problem. Now, when we talk about, the hysteria about the situation, and I can tell you from watching and reading everybody on Saturday and then Sunday, in between the stream Sunday, when we did the stream Sunday, I was absolutely watching how people were interacting and going on the web, and a lot of people were sort of panicked, and they're like, oh no, we're going to be sending people off to war, and it's like, no. We are nowhere near sending people off to war and all that stuff. People are in fear of that, yes. And I, for one, would not be appreciative of that. I'm too old to go, mind you. I am in not good health anyway, so I would have been counted out anyway due to my health alone. But I'm too old to go in, so I wouldn't be at a threat. But what I don't want to see is children these days having to go to war, having to do that concept. But the way the military is today is nowhere near what it was even 20 years ago. And we went into the Afghan war, and the Iraqi war and the Afghani war, when pretty much after I graduated college. And when that happened, drones were still becoming the new thing. So people were like, oh wow, this is amazing. we can attack somebody without being there remotely or whatnot, or it could be, a few feet to a few miles away, to now where we don't even have to be in the same, hemisphere, I think, with some drones. It's notable to understand, where problems will persist for us, but at the same time, understand that technology is the key, and it is how things will be fought. So, boots on the ground, not really going to be a threat for quite a while. Even if we are at war, but we aren't. And a good way to tell we're not at war is because, there's absolutely no chance that China and Russia wouldn't immediately act on their end when the chips are down. So it's like, okay, we know we're not properly at war. So when we talk about peace, that's a harder game, and it's easier to negotiate a war than it is easier to negotiate peace. And such has been the case for Israel pretty much since its country was built. And I have to say their country was built because technically the people have existed for years, and the area was always technically belonged to them, in my opinion. I know some people will be like, no, it doesn't belong to them. It never belonged to them. It's like, no, it did. It's always been part of Israel. It's just, a matter of history people want to ignore, and the fact of certain things. Everybody keeps going back to America's doing the next Crusades. Well, the people that did the Crusades were, Muslim countries and the English. They were the ones in the Crusades. And most of the Muslim countries won land off of that. But for the longest time, what is Israel was in the hands of the English. And after World War II, to make peace and make amends for the devastation to the Jewish people through the Holocaust, it was agreed upon to officially create the land of Israel and where it stands. And originally it was smaller, and people attacked it. And every single time, Israel won their wars because they're fighting for their land. And for people to say, "Oh, well, the Palestinians belong there," first, it's like, no. The Palestinians were a roaming band of people who actually belonged technically in Jordan. But Jordan won't have them. Egypt won't have them because they also belong in Egypt. But Israel was like, yeah, we'll let you, settle in here and whatnot. And ever since then, they've been pretty much attacking them for the land, and it's been an ongoing war, and that is too bright for you to spare. So when we talk about, the turmoil in the Middle East, a lot of it's been this whole Israel shouldn't exist by groups that don't like each other, be it Palestine, be it, Iran, at one point in time Iraq, but Iraq is now defanged from the Iraqi war that we had recently, that we were part of. It is no longer sort of in the hands of a dictator than it was with Saddam Hussein. But And for a lot of people who don't believe that we ever should have gone in there, I have a couple documentaries to show you. And for people who say, oh, there are no weapons of mass destruction, mustard gas is a weapon of mass destruction, and that is what was found. It is an illegal substance to be used in war, and Iran or Iraq used it on its own people. So it's not exactly saying, hey, we didn't have any weapons of mass destruction found. We did find it. It's a matter of what you want to declare the weapon of mass destruction in that scenario. Because if you don't know the effects of mustard gas, then you really don't know the damage it does to the nervous system, to the psychiatric mindset if you survive it. But it absolutely destroys and boils your skin alive. It is not pleasant. Part of the reason why people say Hitler came into power was because he was a victim of mustard gas in World War I. He took a dose of it pretty severely. It messed with his mind, and very much could be the reason why he came to power and had his mentality the way he did, was he survived mustard gas. Is it survivable? Yes. But it's not in a good way. It takes a lot to deal with, and I had to do a documentary back in college about mustard gas that was used by Saddam Hussein on his people and on the Kurdish people. And this was, of course, before the Second Iraq War. So, the first one being, the Gulf War. So, it was not a pleasant thing to hear the stories about people laying under dead bodies of their family and loved ones. It's traumatic. It's traumatic. It really is. It's one of the reasons why I have the mindset I do. Is because I've had to see and hear the effects of people under that, without making that documentary. It just turns the stomach. That being said, let's get on to the... Oh, I did it again. Paste. Putting it on the wrong layer. Okay, let's get on to the next part of the talk. I'm going to actually get rid of this. So we're going to cover a little bit of the news media coverage. So, Sons of Liberty, this was CNN doing a poll recently saying, hey, a lot of people were like, oh, we're against the bombing, we're against the bombing. Well, this is the poll, and I'm going to mute the music again. Here, we'll do this minute.
And overall, I feel like there's more support for Donald Trump's positions than is comically acknowledged. Oppose Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, look at this. 79% of adults agree on that. They agree with Donald Trump. Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. 83% of Republicans, 79% of independents, 79% of Democrats. When you get 79% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans agreeing on anything, you know that that position is the very clear majority in this country. And so the American public is with Donald Trump. They definitely oppose Iran getting nuclear weapons.
Okay. And this went and got shown through literally within a few hours ago, because there was impeachment papers brought up by certain individuals in Congress that are usually the same people that keep filing impeachment papers. And it was voted down by over not only every Republican, but also over 100 Democrats voted against it because this was a use of presidential powers. If you try to say otherwise, then you have to put every president beforehand up for trials as well for doing the same things. Because you had Obama doing bombings on several different people throughout his term of presidency. You had Trump do al-Baghdadi back in his first term. You had, I'm sure, I can't think of Biden, but I know he had a few people he also had killed through his term. It's not unheard of. It's every president has done it since I've been alive. It's always happened. And they can do it outside of president powers. But if we are going to put people on the ground, that's when Congress has to be notified. If we have to bring in soldiers, that's when Congress has to be notified. If it's just going to be, a one and done deal, it's not in Congress's, purview to be part of that. I mean, people could be like, oh, the president could just do a nuke. Yes, a president could. There's a reason there's a man that always follows the president around with a briefcase that is the nuke launch codes. And not Congress. He doesn't need to get permission from Congress to throw a nuke if he needed to. It'd be very stupid if he wanted to, but yeah. So this was a little poll that CNN did, but at the same time, CNN did this earlier.
But the question is whether or not the calm can remain when the regime that is still there, who wants death to America, death to Israel, stays in place. And that is part of the discussion, right?
Yes, absolutely part of the discussion. And, I remember, Dan, at one point being in Tehran years ago, and they're chanting death to America all around me, even as I say, oh, I'm an American reporting for CNN, and they were happy to speak to me. So that those two is sort of jarring realities of the chant, and yet the friendliness have existed together.
But the question is...
Yes. There's a friendliness to the concept of death to America. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Trump is right to call out CNN on their bullcrap, the MSNBC on their bullcrap. Fox does some of the bullcrap too. ABC, NBC, CBS, all of them do bullcrap. And it's this kind of crap that it is, where they kind of try and lighten the mood of certain individuals, especially issues that Iran is responsible. U.S. strikes Iran after decades of tension. So, when we talk about decades of tension, 1953, U.S.-backed coup, and Iran instills the Shia. So, we helped install the Shia in 1953. 1979, Iran hostage crisis. So, this was, like I said, when I was born, was in 1978. 1979, we had the hostage crisis, where they took the U.S. Embassy hostage, held 52 Americans hostage, and for 444 days. And Carter was pretty much rejected as president because of how he handled this situation. That's how Reagan came into power. In 1980, war sanctions and direct conflict. So in 1980, we saw tensions spike during the outbreak with the Iraqi-Iran war with Iran-Contra affair. So, yes, Reagan did some shady stuff with the Iran-Contra affair, where he tried to have Iran and Iraq fight each other to basically mutual destruction on that end. Then we have the post-9/11 fallout. After the 9/11 attacks, George W. Bush has labeled Iran as one of the third of the axis of evil alongside of Iraq and North Korea. And in my opinion, I maybe would remove Iraq from that list these days, but I definitely would have North Korea and Iran on that list still. It'd be interesting to see who else we'd probably put on that list. But the axis of evil are basically groups that deny people their autonomy or freedom, oppress their own people, threaten other countries for their existence, and do showboats of power, basically, in that sense. And such is the case with the attack yesterday in Qatar. Iran basically dropped a bunch of missiles that got exploded in the air. I think one hit the ground, but it hit like a parking lot. No real damage whatsoever. And basically after that, they declared victory. Yeah. You dropped a missile on a parking spot. That's a victory, sure. Oh no, there's a pothole. In that sense, Mother Nature was at war with us, but I mean that's probably true in general. 2015, the Iran nuclear deal is signed. Barack Obama signed this nuclear deal at the end of his term. Basically right around, I think it was like November, December of 2015, he signed this deal with Iran, to which would limit Iran's nuclear deal. This was a big mistake. The listing here from News Nation says it was a breakthrough. I remember when it was signed, it was panned by a lot of people because it was basically being like, oh, no. We'll eventually check on you, but you can do whatever you want on this. And, yeah, that kind of nonsense had to end. And once Trump was in office after a few years, he withdrew the deal. Rightfully so, because he knew Iran was just going to keep trying to make as much nuclear material as they could, which is what they were doing up until this weekend. They may still be doing it, but at the moment, we don't know where, if that's the case. In 2020, the U.S. strike kills Qassam Soleimani. So, and this is 2020, I believe. Yeah, it was Trump plotting this attack, basically. Just killed the Iranian general, Soleimani. And it's one of the reasons why Iran really wants to kill Trump. Is for that reason. They have put out death threats to him. They have hired hitmen, and they have been stopped multiple times for doing so. 2025, we bomb the nuclear facilities. Basically, it's like, we're not handling this. Now, in between there have been other issues. And let's see, that's the map. Okay. This is the buildup of just what happened, so we'll go down here. This is just from 2019 to 2020, folks. Just 1 year. Essentially. So May 2019, we had an attack on an international oil tankers. Houthis attacks on Saudi pipeline, attack on oil tankers again. Shooting, and that was in June. Shooting down of a U.S. drone, also in June. Seizure of UK oil tanker in July. Deployment of 1,000 troops to the Middle East was America's response. Cyber attacks on Iran and the proxy of Iraq were also done in June as a response. Then an attack on Saudi Abaqi refinery, so another oil refinery, in September 14th, 2019. Cyber attack on Iran. This shows just how often this crap happens. How often this mess is going on. Then we go into phase 2. Iran tries to turn regional protest into its advantage. So it calls for reforms in Iraq. America calls for that. Then there's a crackdown on protests in Iran. Proxy militia crackdown in southern Iraq. Proxy militia crackdown in Baghdad. Sanctions on Iran proximities in Iraq. Then we go to phase 3, where escalation is brought in. So we have a proxy militia rocket attack that kills 1 American on December 27th, 2019. Airstrikes were on Qatar Hezbollah at the end, or 2 days later, in response. And then on the last day of the year, proxy militia attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Then the U.S. kills Qassam Soleimani a few days later. then there's a missile attack on U.S. forces in Iraq. This is an ongoing heated issue that has been around and active so long. It's basically a bee's nest that has grown bigger and bigger, and people keep throwing rocks at it. Instead of, actually spraying it or killing it. Bee's nest is inappropriate. Wasp nest is more appropriate. And we're trying to prevent these wasps from becoming the damn Japanese wasps that are freaking 2 inches long and have stingers that will, leave permanent marks on your skin or decay your body. And yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid, essentially, when we get into this mess. So let's bring the music back. Let's do some drawing for some relaxation. I don't know why I keep opening this damn page. I really don't. So when we talk about this whole situation with Iraq and how it's come to be and the continuous threat that they continue to be, it comes down to the death to Israel, death to America chant every freaking time. So the people in charge of Iraq is the Ayatollah and his men, and they have a lock set on how law is done, how everything is done in the country. And it wasn't always this case. So back in the day, before I was born, Iraq used to be a very open and, inviting country. It was on the typical mindset of what you would see with most Middle Eastern countries that aren't, trying to start a war in the name of, whatever hatred they have of the weak. And so when you deal with situations like that of a country that's just built on this hatred with their government and what they do and their actions and its place, how they treat their own people. Because mind you, all this talk, the Iraqi people themselves, a majority of the Iraqi people do not want the Ayatollah. They do not want this government. But they are strong-armed and basically beaten and attacked for standing up for themselves. It is a situation where you have a true, dictator situation almost. But it's not a dictatorship, it's more of a oligarchy situation, because it's a religious dictatorship in a sense. And it's not, while Khomeini is the main person in charge, Ayatollah Khomeini, he can be replaced if he dies. So, and a new dictator will take his place. It's a matter of, for years, some of the people, myself included, that pay attention to the situation have been like, hey, I'd love to see the Iranian people actually take up arms against their dictatorship. But they're not going to unless they get, actual support from elsewhere. And it's kind of a catch-22 situation where it's like, well, we can't help you, but we need you to help yourselves, but you can't help yourselves, you need our help. And when they're talking about, like they've been talking about today in the news, and we heard earlier with Trump, when we did play Trump, it's not a matter of regime change. We cannot go through and do a regime change. We did that with Iran, or we should not have. Or we did that with Iraq, excuse me. And we should not have. We should have let the people of Iraq do the regime change, and not us. You should, whenever you take over a country or change politics in a country, you try to get the people to do the overthrow, you coming in and doing the overthrow, because then you're kind of an invading force going in and saying, hey, you're going to do as we say. This is how you're going to accept and what you're going to accept. And it's a problem. It really is a problem when you try to lead the country that you fought for in that way. And it's been done before. I mean, essentially, when the Nazis took over France, when they took over Poland, when they took over other countries in their conquest, they put their own people in charge. And basically, that's why you had stuff like the French revolutionaries that would come into play, that the resistance forces that would build up in these countries and take up toll, because they're being forced to accept a new country coming in and taking their land. It's not unheard of for a conquest to be successful. I mean, hell, this country was built on a conquest in the sense of it. Ironically, when we talk about, you know, the whole situation that we were dealing with before the Iran issue last week, we were dealing with the whole, you know, protesting, and we're still kind of dealing with the protesting in California and all that for immigration and whatnot. And one of the things a lot of the people were going on about, and they were saying, oh, it's like, this is stolen land, this is Mexico land. It's like, no, it's not. Technically, the U.S. won the land because we conquested it through the Mexican-American War. And we also bought a lot of it from Spain, who owned the land beforehand, before the Mexicans. And also, a lot of that was conquested by Spain, and Mexico didn't exist before Spain. And the people they conquested were Native Americans. That would have been people like the Aztec, the Maya, and whatnot in that region, who won that land in conquest of probably some other tribe, and so on and so forth. Conquest is what built the world. It really is. It's not a pleasant thing to think of, but every country exists through conquest, essentially. Be it, you know, a current conquest or a very latter conquest. England fought over its own country and became its own country basically after switching hands 4 or 5 times. I think twice between the Vikings, and then another time twice between the French. And so, I mean, it's to say no country out there has not done a conquest is just nonsense. I mean, Iran did conquest. I mean, it comes from Persia, and the Persians, you know, while they existed for, you know, several centuries, they were very much, you know, borderless for years and upon years, and that's what brought forth the whole Crusades. Is they were expanding their borders, and they just kept going after new territory before a point where they had like the lower half of Europe in their control. And at that point, it was like, no, we need to fight back. And so the Crusades became a thing. And it's that kind of absurdity that people don't understand about war and conquest, that how countries came about. Every freaking country essentially is created by conquest these days. I don't know of one that is not, with the exception of, well, no, I can't even say the exception of one, because that, in the sense, that was a conquest as well, and I'm talking about the country of Sealand. Those who don't know what Sealand was, it was an oil rig in the Baltic Sea, I think, of a family that took over this oil rig, and no one was really using it anyway, so it was a conquest of, no one's here, we're taking it over. And they declared autonomy, and instead of like, you know, fighting with them and whatnot, Sealand was formed, but it's literally just a freaking oil rig. It's dumb. It's not the dumbest moment in war and whatnot, but or life. But it's definitely a situation where it's like, oh gee, you know, do we really want to fight these few people for this oil rig that they took over? It's just not worth it. You can hear me open a can real quick. Opening some liquid death here to quench my thirst. First and only set that I bought of Liquid Death. I'm never buying it again. Sorry, not a fan of Liquid Death. Tried it. I thought, hey, let's try the Dr. flavor, which I'm guessing was Dr. Pepper inspired. And it's like, this is just flat seltzer water. That's all it is. But I need to finish the can, so it's like, I gotta finish this. But yeah, when we look at history, we look at situations like war that have been involved. Every country's conquested at some point in their history. It's just a matter of how far back do you really want to go. While America was Native American land, or the United States was Native American land, as well as Canada, most tribes that people would accredit it to won it over other tribes, and other tribes took conquest over it. It's to think they just got along with each other is just a nonsense. There was slavery in Native American tribes before America, or before Europe got here. So, I mean, and the slave trade's been a thing almost as long as prostitution has been a thing. So it's probably like the second or third oldest tradition is slavery. I hate to say it, it still exists in this world in some sense. We don't really see it in the most common countries, although we do see it in places like China. It still exists in there. And it's situations of, you know, the concept of conquest, taking, you know, and enslaving the people to be loyal to you. Or in some cases, like in China, that's where the biggest problem with them is actually more against the Muslim Uyghurs, who are beaten, enslaved, and sent to prison camps and basically work the rest of their lives. And you have a situation there where you have a very much ignoring of the Uyghur situation by most of the world. And China's action to basically make them slave labor. And then you have, you know, sex slavery, organ harvesting, that kind of stuff. Not pleasant stuff to begin with, but it still exists in this world. And to think we've completely eliminated it in this day and age is nonsense. And it's not just an American thing. It was never just an American thing. In fact, it existed long before America even was a glimmer in the eye of somebody. You don't believe me? I mean, you can watch a really cool anime that covers slavery being an issue. That's based on historical events, and that is Vinland Saga. Wonderful series. But yeah, long before America's a thing, because Vinland's America, and based off of Viking lore, and belief of history at this point. And you have them enslaving their prisoners, and it was white people enslaving other white people. It was pretty much the English being enslaved to the Dutch at the time, because the Vikings were Dutch. there are other countries and whatnot, and it's not a pleasant experience. And much of the second season, if you watch the anime, it covers this, and it shows that it's not a pleasant experience. But it was an issue through history. It's not something we can ignore. But it's not something we can just say, oh, you know, it was only America that did this. It's like, no, you're not studying history. I'm doing that in the wrong spot. Alright. So you're probably like, what the hell are you drawing? Basically, it's Ida looking over her shoulder because she just got insulted by the person behind her. That's what I'm drawing. And it's trying to figure out, the best use of panels and whatnot. We can go over in another art stream, although not too many people enjoyed the art stream, where we kind of covered and talked about just doing art. So we're gonna keep doing topicals. I know I said I was gonna try and be very tame in June with the subjects, and we've covered 2 subjects that weren't tame. But honestly, I don't think I could have gotten away with not talking about this week, considering what's been going on with the war and the fear that people have that we are once again facing World War. Which, I mean, we could still be facing it, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. And as much as I'd like to say, hey, it looks like the treaties are signed or things are calming down from the president's optimism, I've lived long enough to have the cynicism and be like, I will believe it when I freaking see it. And I don't think it'll last. Because it's never really lasted before. And while I do feel the fear of people are now going to be taking America a little bit more seriously when it comes to the negotiation situation, I do feel that it's going to be, maybe we'll have a little peace for a few years, if not months, before things lighten up again. Or light up again, and we're back in the situation. And much of that happens to be with, you're talking about territories that have been at war for centuries. And trying to get them along, trying to get the children to behave, essentially, that run their countries and the war concepts. It's not an easy thing, and we won't just see them kind of put down their weapons. They might put them down for a little bit and try and behave while they build up power, or new weapons or whatnot. I'm actually kind of impressed how much drawing I actually got done on the stream so far. Usually I only get like 1 or 2 panels.
By the willow tree, sunlight sparkled in your eyes. They tell me
To be fair, they're not very active panels. And today we're doing something that I really don't do with the request. So normally with requests I don't do comics. And to be fair, their request was basically to recreate the scene of the battle with these 2 characters, but at the same time I was like, well, if I'm gonna do it, let me do it manga style. So let me get the pages done. The characters are very simplistic in drawing, and as long as I got it sketched out, which I did earlier today, I could get it done pretty quickly. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next 2 hours after we're done here. she would not be smiling. She's going to be upset. So why am I drawing her with a smile? I will say drawing the prequel has helped me establish Ida/Theodore as a character in the for the main series. Get an idea of how I want them to behave and how their attitudes are, and their personality. And it'll show a lot. I think a lot of people will be like, wow, that's how they were before the beginning of the story. And it's like, huh. And then we'll be also being introduced to a new character in the series, because it'll be the first time you're really seeing the character Rylan come into play, and how they feel about Theodore, and what their actions and feelings are, because the story of Love Potion Lament is very much Rylan's story, with them and their interactions with Theodore in their young age, before Theodore just takes on this guise as Ida at the college to undermine their father's determination or hatred of the tech-born society, end of humanity. And doing a lot of drawing. I mean, last week I was kind of quiet, even though we didn't do a stream last week, because I was sick. I was still sitting in this chair probably a good 8 to 9 hours, doing art, because I have to finish these panels up pretty much by tomorrow. I need to have the comic published by Sunday, for the contest to work. And so we're going to be telling the story of a comedic love story, between two friends, essentially, and how love isn't always as one sees things and doesn't go as we always want. But it was doing that or retelling Demon Blade's love story, and they don't want blood. So I was like, I really can't do Demon Blade's love story. I could write this story without blood, but I could not write Demon Blade's story without blood, because it was such an important thing. And those that want to see that story, Demon Blade is available on sale on Amazon. You can get it digital or hardcover. Well, not hardcover, paperback cover. I want to say hardback, but it's not a hardback. It's cardboard. But yeah, you can buy it from it, and it's still relatively cheap. I believe it's $15 at the most for a pretty sizable book, and we're talking 6 chapters per book. We'll be coming back to Demon Blade also in the next month, and getting close to probably one of my favorite parts of Demon Blade to tell. And we've told it before, because a lot of what Demon Blade is on right now is basically a remake of the 2013 run, and that is the 2015 run, which has more detail, much better art quality, and it's suitable for printing. And that series is getting into that one's more romantic and drama and heavy, and it's getting to such an amazing point in the story that people fell in love with it when I originally told it, but it's hard to find the original Contacts or the original release publicly because it's not easily accessible. But you'll be able to see the new series as it's come out as we go into this major story arc point, where the conclusion of the story arc. So. I gotta think of a name for this guy, but I don't want it to be a typical Hispanic name. So we don't want to call him Juan. We don't want to call him, Jose or something like that, or Jesus or something like that. I'm gonna have to look up some Hispanic names for this guy.
Got your picture in my locket. Swiped it off your porch.
But he's supposed to be the dick that Ida has to deal with. And I messed his hair up a little bit. Speaking of which, this is a Witchn song right here now playing. Bewitched and Bewildered, about the character Sydney, who's in love with Ida. In a toxic relationship way. As the song plays out, she's very much a stalker and very much overly possessive, but in a funny way. I mean, we already introduced her in this chapter of Witchn, in a stupid scene where she just shows up with a giant expression of love, and that expression is immediately torn up because, well, Ida's going flying through and has to get to class and didn't know what the hell was blocking the front door. So it's stuff like that. And if she knew it was Sydney, she probably still would do what she did. Because she is a little uneasy about Sydney. And her determination to make that of love, or declaration of love to her. Ida's not really prepared for love, and that's you'll see a lot more of that with Love Potion Lament, where because Ida, Theodore, they're not really. They're all for happiness and joy and all that kind of stuff, but they're kind of like, I have my goal in life and I want to live my goal in life. I don't want to be tied down by others.
This programming stream to bring you something from a dream. A pair of socks that talk and glow. And who's the guest? It's I don't know.
Alright. Let's cover the last bit of the news before we switch over to our commission here. I do want to finish the coloring though real quick. At least the basic coloring for this. The other two panels are going to be pretty busy anyway, so we can't really do those today.
She spins in circles, yells, oh no. What happens next? Nobody knows. Your regular show is in a bind.
And let's bring this on over. I'm just going to do the base color for Ida's hair, which apparently is leaking somewhere.
Say goodbye to normal days. I don't know's here to steal the
Okay, I see a spot.
with wisdom old and cosmic rays. She's got one eye but sees it all.
I don't know where this song came up with the one eye. Alright, that's nonsense.
She's got a dance called the spinning stare.
Although I asked for this to just be completely
Like
nonsensical.
you just don't care. The news guy faints, the camera zoom. I don't know's voice just shakes the room.
Alright. Red. Brown. Green. Uh, let's bring this on up. Alright. Do a quick background color, which is going to be gray for right now. That will go over later. Oh, no. There we go. So you guys can see what we've done so far today on this panel, this page. Alright. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go to here, but I'm going to go ahead and get to the last of the talking here. So, we kind of talked over about the escalation, the war declared. So, this is what went down officially the last few days, the weeks. So, from June 12th to June 23rd, so it's the 24th now, the conflict so far. So, when we go on to it, Israel invaded Lebanon in 1982. Iran's new regime helped establish Hezbollah, militant group funding and training in Tehran, funds Hamas in Gaza, Yemen's Houthis. So these are all terrorist organizations. On June 13th, a major escalation. Israel announced over 200 Israeli Air Force craft dropped 330 munitions, around 100 targets, and overnight hitting 6 cities, including Tehran, Iran's nuclear facility, and Nets. They also killed at least 20 senior commanders. It was very precision striking. I mean, they killed one guy in his apartment without shaking the other apartments with a missile. I mean, it was precision work. Then on the 14th of June, Israel was warning 3 people had died, almost 50 people left injured across several cities after attacks continued. So Iran responded with missiles, shooting them back. On the 15th, missiles went back and forth. The damage not intercepted by the dome. So there were so many missiles, it was overloading Israel's defense system that is called the Iron Dome, which is a bunch of missiles that target other missiles. And for the longest time, that's been the way Israel's been kept safe. But when you overload the system, they only got so many missiles to go around, and missiles are going to go through. And missiles are going to miss, and all that kind of situation. So missiles went through the Iranian area, and then we got last week, at the beginning of Monday, where the Haifa shortly, the port city of Haifa was drawn in Monday, killing at least 8 people and wounding more than 100 others, and destroying homes, causing damage to the U.S. Embassy. Iran's Revolutionary Guards claimed the latest attack employed a new method. It's called Israelis' multi-layer defense system to target each other and allow Tehran to successfully hit many targets without providing any further details. On June 17th, the war chief and staff Al-Mayni for 4 days after he was just appointed. So they killed the next guy in charge. It's back and forth, folks. It's just back and forth. This has been going on for centuries with other nations, but essentially Iran does this all the flipping time. And America was just tired of it. We're tired of it. We're trying to negotiate peace between them. This was past 60 days of trying to negotiate peace, and Iran just would not come to the table at all. They're just like, no. And they thought, because every president before was like, oh, you won't come to the table? Well, we'll move the line. Now will you come to the table? Now will you come to the table? Now will you? It was a repeated thing, and it was absurd if you followed the track, where it was like, we kept moving that line. And if you ever knew the joke of moving the line in cartoons, let me try and draw it out for you here. So you have person A and person B, and a line is drawn in between them. And this is the person trying to bring peace. So this is the one trying to bring peace. So we got a little, bring peace. Maybe I just drew the BMW. I don't know. Peace is wanted, okay? And the person who's doing the attacking, so we'll give them a really stupid looking gun here. So this is the person attacking. And basically, it was like, okay, don't cross this line. And the people would attack and they cross the line. So they're like, okay, here's a new line. Don't cross this line. And it just kept going. And so we finally reached a point where we should have reached this point years ago, honestly, folks. Where we were like, okay, you crossed this line. You're not meeting us at the table. We're done. Your lovely toys that you're trying to build to nuke everybody, they're gone. We're taking them away. Hoo-hoo, wah. Now come to the table, or it's worse next time. And so that's where we're at currently. And it's peace through strength. That's literally what we're dealing with. It's the only way these people understand is pretty much you have to, when you fight and you talk to somebody in this situation, they don't understand, oh, hey, let's negotiate peace when they want to kill you. They still want to kill you. It doesn't matter. And the only way it's going to stop is if you no, you do that, you're going to face the consequences, and I'm going to make you pay for it in a way that you don't want to pay for it. And for us, the first time to finally say, here's a nuke, or there's your nukes. You see those nukes? Boom, they're gone. Right there, destroyed. Not coming back. And when we do these attacks, when we do something like this, this is the nice way. This is the nice way of attacking somebody. Alright, we took out your big threat. Do you want to come to the table now? Now, if they don't come to the table this time, with the threat goes to the next thing. So it's like, fine, we'll find your munitions places. Take those out. Do you want to come to the table this time? That's the way you got to do it. At this point on, that's what we have to do with the Treaty of Iran. And that is why, no, we are not at war. But we are in a very tense peace moment. Could it lead to war? Yes. Are we on the concept of war at the moment? Not here. I do fear there are other situations that can and will happen. I don't think it'll happen at this point during Trump's remaining time. I think with what Trump did now, it's enough deterrent for countries to be like, let's wait until he's out of office and then test the next guy. So I do feel that the threat of war, unless somebody really is hot-headed, is going to come to an end. And I mean, very much to say, you can't believe that Trump's going to do this. Trump's already negotiated peace between India and Pakistan this year. man's been in office this time around for a few months. He's already negotiated peace in one group. He's tried to get peace with Russia and Ukraine, but Russia and Ukraine are too stubborn-headed. And we're trying not to get involved with a war with Russia, because if we started actually fighting, then Russia would go to war, and that would be a World War III scenario. There's the threat of China and Taiwan. I do not believe China's going to make a move on Taiwan at this point until after Trump's out of office. I do feel that they think they'd have a better chance with the next person in charge, whoever that is, because they feel that Trump will make good on his calling out their bluff. This is a way to put your foot down and be like, no, we are going to properly negotiate peace, and that's what this is about. And I thank you all for joining in the topic of the stream. So, as always, we're going to move on to our request. And again, I don't know why I'm just going to go ahead and close that so we don't have that open. So, again, we have a request here this week. That is a comic page. They wanted Vicky from Fairly Odd Parents facing Amy from Little Einsteins. Never seen Little Einsteins. I think it looks relatively like a young children's show. Reliving this scene in Dragon Ball Z. So we have this little scene here of Gohan versus Boo, which I watched before it was dubbed. I watched it before it was subbed. I watched it in the raw. So I watched this whole scene take place, and I understood everything without it. I mean, I didn't really need the translation for Dragon Ball Z on this sense. I'm trying to make sure I pull the right pages off. Because we don't really need those pages. We need the characters up so I can see how to draw them. But everything else is going to be kind of separate. Alright. When you draw characters in a scenario that's parody, that's what this is. This is a parody situation. You kind of want to reflect what you're parodying in your work. So you need to have an idea of what the parody is of and how you're going to parody it. And that's the case here in this scenario. It's G's, as I recall it. Yep. So Hartman's work, he does the G's here for ears. He doesn't really do necks, but I'm doing a neck anyway for Vicky. Actually, she might have a neck. No, she doesn't really have a neck. He does the little down into. So let's remove the neck part here. It's kind of like I'm having to do some of it my original way, but I'm trying to do as much as possible in the same style as Butch Hartman. Excuse me, Butch Hartman, that's who it is. Who did Fairly Odd Parents and a couple other series, but this was probably his most famous.
They call me Ida, the spells that amaze, but I used to be Theo in my family's gaze.
And it's just a matter of, each week we kind of take these requests on. So people wanted to know, hey, how do I get a request in? We have a list. We have a request list. It is currently in November. Backed up to November. So just keep that in mind if you're going to do a request. It ain't happening until November, at least. That's saying I have no health problems whatsoever. Or any other restrictions that come into play. But Vicky's very basic. She's not too complex to draw. Pretty much any of the Fairy Odd Parent characters are kind of really easy to draw.
I traded my life for fame and knowledge to find. Now
and it looks like Little Einstein's isn't too much difficult either, or too difficult either. So I'm gonna make the eyebrows a little thicker here.
I question who they see. Oh, I'm the girl with the spell in my hand, but I left my old life for
Let's do her color scheme.
I went looking for right.
I'm gonna use her given color scheme.
Is the all still within my sight? The cauldron bubbles and the crowd goes wild, but inside I'm still just a nervous child. Eight is a star and Theo's a ghost. Do I want this life or the one I miss most?
And my one problem with doing this scene was pretty much with doing Vicky. She's pretty much almost always drawn on a little bit of a 3/4 or side view. She's never really drawn face on. But the scene has very much, in the case of Vicky, she's replacing Boo. She's very much has that, you know, straight. You don't see her straight on. You see her from the side view. So when we get the little kind of notations of how she looks, we're seeing her on a side view or a 3/4 view. And the thing about this scene, if I were to bring up the Dragon Ball Z reference, there's very little background. As much as people give credit for Toriyama for his action, Toriyama was very bland with backgrounds, very bland with his character designs. But at the same time, he did action really well. And that's what sort of put Toriyama on the place, Matt, for where he is for people. But at the same time, it really just does not make it an interesting scene unless you really show that sort of emotion and character. And in this scene, it's literally just Gohan and Boo smiling at each other with these smirks and whatnot, and trying to look menacing at each other. And you have just this one scene where you have you literally don't see all of Gohan, but because of the character we're dealing with being a toddler, I couldn't draw her just bringing her foot down. We had to see her full body at that point. And Gohan would be normally like right here in the height, with Boo in the panel looking on at Boo, but because the height difference and the concept of, you know, Vicky's the evil babysitter, it's pretty much gonna be, you know, very basic on how these two appear on here. And I mean, that's the thing. When you do a parody, so I mean, going back to the concept of this being a parody, you want the characters to be very different from the parody. I mean, they can have similar outfits or even similar look a little bit to what you're parodying, but they still need to have a very, oh, that's not what I'm looking at. And when you talk about parody in anime, honestly, Gintama is the way to go. Because Gintama parodied this stuff, including, I think, this scene. They may have even parodied this scene. I don't know if they did or not, because I've don't remember. I know they parodied a lot of Dragon Ball, but I don't remember where they parodied Dragon Ball. See if they parodied Boo or not. They of course parodied the Frieza saga. Though, so. And that's all that, I mean, Gintama had a lot of comedy, straight comedy, but it was also a lot of parody. And another thing, I keep seeing Amy from Little Einsteins. She doesn't have her eyes sort of squint like this. So I think this is the first drawing I was able to find, or the first time I'm drawing her this way that I think she's ever been seen, with this sort of smirk that is the same smirk that Gohan had. It's a really dumb smirk. And to be fair, I mean, Gohan does get his ass kicked in this battle. Despite looking cool at this moment, he does get his ass kicked. But this was the battle that was requested. This little face-off is what was requested. And again, this character doesn't have a neck either. I don't understand the concept of not having a neck on a character. But I also don't like her hair. Whatever they did to this damn hair for this kid is just weird.
Could drive itself. Thought it'd take me places, boost my wealth. But last night I heard that engine purr, and that smart rig left me in a cloud of dirt. Runaway rig, where you headed now? Leaving me here with my bank account plowed.
So she's got these pigtails, but she's got bows on the pigtail? Like, not where one would have bows on the pigtail?
Saw it rolling down Main with a honked up horn.
It's a unique character design, I'll give them that, but it didn't really affect the pigtail.
For a diesel refill, then left a big tip on the automated bill. Runaway rig, where you headed now? Leaving me here with my bank account plowed. I programmed you right, I swear I did, but now I'm chasing after my runaway rig.
She's got this stupid 3-hair crown thing for the top of her hair. And I'm gonna do her little envelope pocket here.
Now the sheriff's got his lights turned on.
I'm gonna blow her up a little bit. I think that's Vicky. That's her. Okay. Blow her up so I can get the colors a bit better from her. What? Oh.
Runaway rig, where you headed now?
There we go.
Leaving me here with my bank account plowed. I programmed you right, I swear I did, but now I'm chasing after my runaway rig.
Oh. I don't even see her hair ribbons in this one, but that's the way what I used as a reference for was these dumb hair ribbons. Okay, we have a little bit of stitching to add to it. I guess they're a little more unique. Ah, what the hell? What? It's on the wrong thing, that's why. Little too orangey. I'm gonna try and capture that and see if I can get a lighter. Nope. That's about it. Alright. Get the blue in her eye. So, I mean, I've seen Fairly Odd Parents because it was something amusing and humorous, and I enjoyed it. I have not seen Little Einsteins, which is where Amy comes from. So I have no idea about it. I think these are pink, so I'm just gonna go with pink. Do a little smirk. Then again, a quick blue. We may even get to doing some word balloons. I don't know. All I know is Vicky would definitely be calling the kid a twerp. I'll have to see what was spoken by Boo to Gohan and the original. But yeah, typically when I do requests, I don't do comics because it takes too long usually to do them. This one's an exception because it's fairly simplistic characters doing a very simplistic scene. And while the person probably was thinking of the anime, only way I could see it is doing it as the playing off the manga to work, because we aren't drawing an animation of it, and we ain't got no time to do that.
Turn my soul into an icy cage, left me wounded, burning with rage.
Actually, yeah, but it still would come into play. The shoulders are a little bit too wide, and she's got this weird boobage. How long is it? Okay, they're still long sleeve.
Now
always kind of really enjoyed. I enjoyed the concept of Vicky being this evil babysitter. I mean, as someone who had a bad situation with when I was a child with a babysitter, I could definitely see the evil babysitter. Right. So yeah, Friday, we will be back Friday after this stream is done, with more Hogwarts Legacy, but we're only going to be doing from noon till about 6. That's going to be sort of our cutoff time. It's going to be around 6-ish. I mean, if we're in the middle of a quest, I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to cut it off on, you know, exactly at 6, but we will be cutting it off, having a cutoff time around that point. So it's about 6 hours of play on that gameplay. And I don't know how long it's going to take us. I really don't. We're caught up to where we were the last time we played the game. That was the intention last time, which is why we have an 11-hour stream last time. But yeah, I'm not going to be doing more 11-hour streams. It's just too much. And then we have Stardew Valley Sunday, which people are enjoying, so we're still going to keep doing. And the only reason I stopped doing the Dining and Doodles and Dribble Draw is basically it's 2 drawing shows. And while people enjoy the results, the viewership for Dining and Doodles just wasn't there. And I think it was partially the time slot. We were doing it on Saturdays at night, and it's just not, it's a bad time to compete versus a weekday night or a weekday during the day. It really is. When I was drawing this out this morning and be like, okay, I need to get this sketched out, I was like, this is very much just 2 people smiling at each other, saying very little. I'll even bring up the page and see. We'll do the conversation here, and I'll do different voices. So we just got the foot tap. Foot. Oh God, this is a different language. All right. So, I don't even know what it is, what language this is. I'd have to look it up, the seed. Now I'm gonna look it up while I've got on here, so. Versus Gohan, manga. Alright. Okay. No. Damn it. Give me the actual view. The image. Okay. So it's. Phew. Gonna fight me? You really? Are you really? I'm gonna kill you. No. Or no. I'm gonna kill you. Oh yeah? I remember you. I beat you up before. So we're gonna have that scene play out as it is, but we'll do the wording a bit later. You can see a second page for Witchn I was drawing out or sketching out earlier. So we're gonna actually hide that again. So, and I'll keep that one up on the screen so I can see what I need to draw or have for wording later. So let's see, it was 3. There we go. So we'll put a little spin on the wording so much, or that we have for the, basically with Vicky and Amy here, and when we draw them out. Damn it. Not that panel yet. We'll do that one last. Okay. Like I said, I don't remember a single point in Fairly Odd Parents where you'd see both ears, but I guess it would be possible. I just don't remember it, because the way Hartman drew his characters in the series, and I think it was even carried on when he did Danny Phantom, how the characters are drawn out. It's like, okay, they have this 3/4 to side view all the time. They don't have this head-on viewpoint. I'm trying to give her a neck, but she doesn't really have a neck now, does she? And she'd have the one boob, the uniboob, and then kind of end that shirt, because she's a teenager, she's showing her midriff.
Mayuki's eyes burn with fire. Yoku's shadow, dark desire. Clash of spirits in the night. Sword of honor, sword of spite. Betrayal.
I will give, it's fairly easy to draw Fairly Odd Parents characters, and really quick to do, versus doing something like anime related or some other characters.
Bloody hands draw the line. Destiny or fate's design. Blade of vengeance cuts the air. Neither wins, it's never fair. Bound to fight till none
Drawing it out.
bound to break the endless chain.
Up.
Whispers echo through the wind.
Still. Okay. Still got enough.
Winds are met their end.
There we go.
What's the price of wrath and brave?
Hartman's definitely, his characters are definitely very expressive, which is good with, a children's show, a show aimed at children. You kind of want those expressive emotions to really show. I gotta redo her hair in the back there. I kind of screwed that up.
One survives the earth doomed. Blade of vengeance cuts the air.
But at the same time, you kind of want, they're very easy to replicate, yet very cartoony to basically be able to be flexible in certain things. I don't feel that way with Annie from Einstein. I can tell it's very much a little kid's show because it's very stiff and cartoony and almost like a repetitive, cheap animation style. Not every kid's cartoon show is going to get the budget of, say, like Bluey or Paw Patrol for little kids. It's mainly going to have like a really strained budget to do. It's an appropriate song for Vicky doing Vicky.
A con man for a brother, a narcissist for a lover. There in the darkness you will discover
the secrets this family has covered. Welcome to the family, the family. Welcome to the family, the family. The Wansdales welcome you to your new home, one you will never leave and roam.
Do not be afraid, for your
I went through such hell to get this song written.
are far more than that. If you think you can escape from where you are at, think again, dear girl, that is just a fantasy. You will soon be part of this family.
A killer with a curse, a seer with a verse, a fortune and a hearse. The darkness will submerge. You don't even need to say a word. Welcome to the family, the family. Welcome to
Got one of those burps that is stuck in that.
the family.
There we go. Oh, just escaped.
Be a powerful witch, but Ada, if you don't like your husband, you can just switch.
That there is Uncle Dale, don't worry, he is out on bail. Watch your back with Auntie Cat, she will stab you at the drop of a hat. Cousin Perth is missing since the bodies have been honored. And let's not forget our greatest grandpa, Gastivario. We should help him, it's time for him to go. Oh, of course, your future husband, Val, is the master of this grand show. You will join us, no, you can't.
I realize I'm going to do one thing with her
Welcome
on here for my design for her. I'm going to kind of do,
welcome to the
gives her a little bit more of a personality there.
The Wansdales are a family in decline,
Which is why you will fit in just fine.
welcome to the family, the family, 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 welcome.
So that was a Witchin song. Very much, I wanted it because the Wansdales are such a unique villain slash scenario in the story. I kind of wanted to tell like this dark villainous family song for it, which is what that song was about, and to try and get multiple people singing, and kept messing with the lyrics to try and type them up and be like, okay, what would what would work with the line, the welcome to the family, as a song style. And it's like, oh, you know, maybe going through and really emphasizing the criminality to evilness that this family is. That they're even calling for the death of their, you know, old grandfather, who, if you read Witchin, already appeared in the last the last chapter, was the primary antagonist of the last chapter, who basically hates his own family and wants them to, you know, suffer, but at the same time, he's not going to turn it over to some unknown and have her take over. And it's like, okay, you're going to do exactly what I want you to do, and you're going to be the mouthpiece I want you to be. And that's basically what he's trying to establish with Ida. And of course, Ida doesn't want to go along. Of course. Who would want to go along with the concept of being, the stooge for somebody else?
She cast her spell, a witch with brains, a magic to dispel. She traded her broomstick for a college degree. Now she's the sorceress of university. She's got potions in her backpack, books in her hand, conjuring formulas like nobody can. From the classroom to the lab, her powers ignite. She's a black magic scholar, breaking through the night. Oh, she's a witch with ambition, a heart full of fire, learning spells and potions as her sires aspire. With every incantation, she's breaking new ground, a witch on a journey. In college she's found.
And I'm kind of amazed. I mean, a lot of Witchn's story has been devised well after the concept. So we drew, for those who don't know, Witchn came about, I literally did it on stream. The first creation of Ida was done on stream, and we kind of, on that episode, because it's you can look it up, it's on YouTube. It's the Something Witchy Came This Way episode. And we talked about during that, it's like, what do I want this character to be like? How do I want to play this out? Concept was always there for, the gender bend moment of them hiding their personality when they go to college. Because their father is not accepting of them going to this college, because it's them going into a society that they believe will hate and hurt their loved one. And so, in order to do the coverage and whatnot, you hide behind another family's name, and you use it to try and cover your tracks, but at the same time, you don't know how in danger you are from what you've done, your own actions are. And that was the basic premise, and it's like, okay, well, let me develop this family, let me develop, these characters, let me build upon this. And I mean, characters like Sydney, I talked about her earlier with the song, where she's this obsessed. I did not bring out about Sydney until she appeared on the page. When she appeared on the page, I started to put two and two together, and I'm like, this is a goth girl who is vehemently in love with the concept of witches, to the point that she becomes obsessed with the main character. And goes in the whole, and being a comedy series, it's like, goes the whole dangerous stalker route, but a comedic stalker nature and whatnot, so. I'm gonna have to fix those eyebrows that were a bit messy. What makes me interested, this is something I learned as I was doing Love Potion Lament recently. It's like, how to really design an iconic manga page. And then I come and do this. And I'm drawing this scene out, and I'm like, well, this is an iconic scene in Dragon Ball Z, but it's very much not following what I had learned to do for Love Potion Lament. And the setup of panels, to where it's like, okay, I'm showing a little bit of a different style to, say, somebody else's style. It's very much a very bland scene drawn out, and would not work if it weren't for the action and the tension of the other pages. So it does show Toriyama's skill, but it really is kind of weird as far as how it's drawn out, as we've shown on the as we've been drawing it today. So it's like, yeah, definitely strange.
In the mirror, see my fight, twisting shadows in a plight, doubt creeps in.
I mean, like I said, a lot of the songs I pointed out today have been, Witchin based or comedic. This is a Demon Blade song, so this is not comedic. This is very dramatic. One of my favorite ones, though. That's way too big of a thumb. Just trying to do a fist. Might have to sketch it out a little bit to work it. Okay, this one I can probably do a little bit better. And then this is the funniest thing for me with doing Vicky. Her legs, her shoes and her pants are the same, are one. So it's literally just drawing. That's it. It's like 3, maybe 4 lines, 5 lines. And it's black. Boink. That's how you draw it. Oh, go to our character. Yeah. Okay, they're gray. All right. We'll undo that. They're gray and her feet are bigger. So I gotta fix her feet. She's got the rounded shoes, but they're still, it's still like I said. Message. Let's see what this is about. No. Okay. Just our anime group showing off them doing the work. And yeah, like I said, it was just too hard to kind of really do just the foot like it is in the manga panel of the character walking on scene. Dot, and they got three block with three laces. Okay, and that actually goes up around. The one problem I do have for, and I'm looking at this panel, the tum, that is for the step. It kind of looks like it's a word balloon coming out of Gohan's feet as he walks over. So it looks a little awkward. Trying to do the ponytails with the, I'm gonna just put the ribbons like here because she's got the hair bow on the front. So
in the shadows of the night where the darkness lies, a battle rages on, fending off the demons inside with a heart of fire. And a spirit so bold, I'll unsheath my blade to protect the world untold. Through the trials and pain, I'll stay tall and strong. For every battle fought, I'll sing my battle song.
Mistake there.
With every swing and strike, I'll vanquish all the fears in my hands. The blade of light, wiping away the tears. I'll fight, fight till the end, never backing down. With my blade of light, I'll turn this darkness around. I'll rise, rise in the night, like a beacon so bright. With every strike I make, I'm cutting through the night.
So we're kind of playing out the scene a bit. I kind of need to put a little bit in the front there, actually, to make it look more like overalls.
Night falls, city lights shining bright, raindrops falling like sparks.
Or a jumper. I guess it is a jump. Yeah, it's a jumper. I haven't worn enough jumpers to really understand what makes the difference between a jumper and a dress.
Reflecting the sky as the rain keeps pouring. Our spirits reach high. We can't help but smile as the sparks touch the ground in this magical moment. We're forever.
Oh, great. Ah.
The rhythm of the rain is playing in my mind. The city comes alive. The symphony we find. Every drop that falls adds to the beat. We're caught in the moment. We're dancing in
I
the
think I'm gonna have to, yeah, I'm gonna have to close and restart. So we want to confirm changes. It did its little freezing. That's why we had to redo it. There we go.
rhythm of the rain is playing in my mind. The city comes alive. The symphony we find. Every drop that falls adds to the beat. We're caught in the moment. We're dancing in the heat.
And I had that freaking. Ugh, that sucks. Okay. I did, because I've been doing this on the wrong layer and putting them in the box, it's kind of been hard to be like, oh, okay, here's the edit. Use multiple layers, don't be like me. I do feel like I need it skinny for this one, this panel right here. A little bit. Yeah, that kind of matches the sneaker color. I've got so many gaps in this one. Alright. Do the little stitching on the jumper. Whereas where everything else was blue sky, this one we actually have to put in a background. all black. I should have just gone with all black, as I did earlier. Alright. See another spot I need to fix. Okay, I'm gonna try and add a little bit of the background, similar background, for Gohan walking in. And we're just gonna kind of quickly do it. So. Kind of how people want to know how you do sort of like a Dragon Ball Z background. Very simple background, a lot of hills and rocks and whatnot. Some grass. There's a little tree in the distance here, so we'll do a little tree. Greenery.
Facing shadows now creeps in. Darkness whispers won't let me win. Fight the voices deep inside. Rise up, never run or hide. Stand your ground, never fall. Hero, hero,
Little.
scream through pain, break the chains. Strength from fire and lace. Heartbeats racing, fears a thief. Steal your dreams, plant the seeds of grief. Eyes ablaze, soul takes flight. Breaking free in the dead of night. Stand your ground, never fall. Hero, hero, inside call. Scream through pain, break the
If we have time, we'll add a little bit more color to that. I mean, technically we've got about an hour and we got one more panel to draw, but it's a more important panel to get drawn out. And when I've seen other people do this, so of course, you know, you run across, when you're using a reference, like trying to, you know, make a copy of, or parody of something, like in this case, you'll see people that reenact it would do it poorly. And I've seen a lot of people do the head-on face. In fact, I will pull this up so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at for the scene. How it's supposed to be drawn. So you have this sort of top-down overview, three-quarter forward and 3/4 back, depending on the character. So that's what we're doing in the scene when we're parodying it. Most people do it from a side view, and so when you see them handle it, this particular scene in Dragon Ball Z, them drawing it out, it's from the side view and not from matching up to what we have here. So, you know, we'll do little touch-ups later, but for right now, we want to kind of, I'll even put the two of them away at this point. Because I definitely want to make this skinnier, because Vicky's actually relatively skinny. Although she's mostly grown adult, even though she's supposed to be a teenager, but teenagers tend to run skinny though when you draw them out. So I kind of wanted to have Vicky kind of sticking out a little bit here. This is again where I've got to do a neck. I've got to do a neck. She doesn't have a neck normally. Fudge. Let's try and do it with as little neck as possible. She doesn't normally have a neck, but we'll give her a slight neck. Butch Hartman, come on, man. Draw necks. And draw something other than a 3/4 view.
Echoes of fear in the depths of my heart. Through the ages we run, dreams hanging by threads. Chasing a shadow of futures full of dread. Lavos will fall.
This is the one game I don't think we're gonna come back to on the Friday playthroughs. Until there talks about doing a remake of Chrono Trigger, which is what this song was for. I don't think we're gonna be doing Chrono Trigger because that game broke without us modding it. So that one's broke just in general. Maybe if I get a good emulator or something, I could do it. But I paid for it on Steam and it's not working on Steam, which is why we stopped doing this one. They're, of course, 3-fingered characters, so if I'm going to go into detail with the fist, I need to make sure that I'm throwing 3 fingers and not 4.
No fate, no cruel refrain. With courage, our weapon, we will stand tall. This is the moment of Lavos' fall.
night I craft my spells alone. He used to sit here, now I'm a stone. Theodore's laugh echoes in the air. Now he's gone and she's everywhere. Ida moves like she owns the skies. Wears his jacket, tells his lies. Her pink eyes burn soft but cruel. Is this magic?
I know Butch Hartman's doing Christian stuff nowadays. Or at least trying. I don't know if it's going to be I don't know how successful it is.
His shadow still lingers, my grief won't cleave.
And given it's less of an audience, as much as people like to think, hey, you know, religious stuff, you know, you can't do it for the money because it's not going to be that great of money. It's usually mediocre funds on those. This is a rejected Witchn song for people. This is not an official song.
I'd light the skies, let the heavens burn. But Ida's fingers hold his dreams, twisting truth like silver beams. Ida moves like she owns the skies. Wears his jacket, tells his lies. Her pink eyes burn soft but cruel. Is this magic? Or am I the fool? Every whispered word cuts deep. Hers are honey, his did weep. But who am I to break her spell? A mage adrift in her artful hell. Every whispered word cuts deep. Hers are honey, his did weep. But who am I to break her spell? A mage adrift in her artful hell.
Normally I don't show off the writing process, I do. But we're going to be showing it tonight. Because we don't really do the writing in the stream, because it usually takes a little while for me to go through and be like, oh hey, I know what I kind of wanted to say and whatnot. This time since we're basically recreating the scene, but we'll do it as, you know, these characters would say. I don't know exactly how Amy would say it, but I know how Vicky would act instead of Boo. And I go through her little Y. Here's that's the way she's drawn. Wow, do I have gaps in there? Alright, let's deal with the gaps. Best we can. Nope, still got. Alright, close some of these gaps. Make sure that's closed. Oh, there's a big gap. There we go. Bringing the color forth.
Thrown into the wolves they call kin. Once Dale's scheming life soaked in sin.
Alright, these we close somewhere. I see. We got a big gap over here.
But I sniff the rot
I think
beneath
that's it.
their
That's it.
virtue. Spoiled apples dressed up as gold. Sweet words, but their hearts are so cold. They see my power, think they've won. But I'm no puppet, I'm no one's pawn.
I realized I haven't done Vicky's eyes over here.
Bound by their twisted art. Magic's a leash, they say play your
Or a mouth.
part. But under waves I got fire in my veins. Ignoring whispers, breaking their chains. Spoiled apples dressed up as gold. Sweet words, but their hearts are so cold. They see my power, think they
Gap there. Yeah, alright, I see the arm gap.
that's just begun. They clink their wands like swords in war. Hungry shadows, they always want more. But I carve my own fate, oh so sure. Noisy puppets, I'll play no harm. Spoiled apples dressed up as gold. Sweet words, but their hearts are so cold. They see my power, think they've won. But here I roar, I'm no one's pawn.
Okay, I'll bring the. Nope. Come on, just give me this. One of the things I saw today, I got in. So I've been into, and I've talked about this before. I've been kind of into watching restoration home people doing home renovations themselves. There's this woman. I can't tell if she's Chinese or Japanese, or well, I know she's not Korean because the writing is either Chinese or Japanese on the package she gets. But she has this house, and she did this amazing job, and she's doing these things. She's like a beast with masonry. But she's doing this all by herself, and she made this huge change to this house front, which was just, you know, this typical modern-esque house made out of cement. And she did this all huge, fantastical gardening scene and whatnot with it, that it looked like something out of Ghibli. And to be fair, she also had a Totoro oven. And I saw that in my feed today, and I watched it, and it's like, holy crap, this woman can kick my ass in masonry any day. She is a beast with masonry tools, let's just put it that way. Alright, let's get the dirt color back. And this one's supposed to be all dirt. I'm gonna fix this that's been bugging me to hell. I don't think it works too well, so we're gonna fix this as best we can. Too far. And see, you can see where I did a line behind me. Yeah, it's on that layer, so we'll have to fix that. Alright. And wrong layer. Let's bring blue up. Wrong layer for that. Yeah, I feel that looks better to do it that way. And we kind of want to do the mangaka things, drawings and whatnot, style for the rock and the shadows. So let's go ahead and do, because we're mimicking the scene. And actually, make sure I select, reselect. That way I don't draw off the panel. Oh. How is she? Oh, am I doing this all on the wrong layer? It works for Vicky because I can hide it, but it's not working for... There we go.
Systems crashing, falling fast. Skies turn black, networks clash. Lights go out, every doubt. World's on fire, scream and shout. Data lost, can't retrieve. Screens of blue, defy belief. Wires tangle, sparks ignite. Global grid just lost the fight. Blue screen of death, end of the world. Silicon graveyard flags unfurled. Blue screen of death, end of the world. Silicon graveyard flags unfurled. Voices echo in the void. Digital dreams now destroyed. Chrome and plastic start to melt. Futures melting can't be quelled. Codes corrupted, errors flow. Panic rises, systems slow.
Alright.
Neon nightmare circuits fried. No escape, nowhere to hide. Blue screen of death, end of the world. Silicon graveyard, flags unfurled.
We'll kind of add a little bit more to that as we go. I want to add a little green. let's do. So I'm gonna add some color to it, but I'm gonna add.
Farnsworth University, we pledge to thee. With Wi-Fi,
Color's
we can
derivative
pizza
of the
free.
dirt, but we're gonna kind of put a
Your
thin
library's
watercolor
lost
on
the
it if I
Dewey
can.
Code, but we've got
I want a much larger brush than that.
F you, we'll shout it loud and true. Through beer pong fails and dining hall stew. F you, the grads with nothing to lose. We've got no shame, we're Farnsworth U. Your football team might never win.
And the reason I chose watercolor is to get a little bit of difference in density. So it gives a little bit difference to the rocks and everything if I keep doing things a little bit. Even go a little bit closer and shrink the brush tip.
The dorms flood when it starts to rain. The campus squirrels have gone insane. Our chem lab once lit half the quad, but Farnsworth spirit stays unflawed. And you will shout it loud and true. With ramen nights and exams overdue. F you, our hearts bleed maroon. In chaos, we trust at good old F you.
Okay, it's too dark, so let's do. Might. Okay, that's on the wrong on another layer. That's why. Add some texture to the drawing.
In the depths of the shadows, darkness unfurls. The storm of vengeance, the raging tempest swirls. With hearts unyielding, unbreakable, we march through the chaos. Our spirit they
Oh, I gotta do her lipstick. I realize that. I'm missing Vicky's lipstick on almost all the panels. And I gotta fix one thing with that nose. Yeah, there we go.
Jump out of bed, it's a brand new day. Gotta get moving, no time to delay. Put on your favorite song, crank it up.
Alright, I don't like that it's just straight blue and blue and blue and blue panel, but I will show you guys. It's the given trick of drawing a scene in manga that people don't really pay attention to, I think, all the time. Really don't have much in the background. Edit, undo, no, cancel. I want this panel, edit, transform scale. So, you can see I've been doing the texture in the background as best I can, real quickly, on the backgrounds for both the areas that I have a background. Very simplistic, very quick. The characters are very simplistic, very stylized, but very simplistic. And the thing. But then you get the face panels, and there's like no expression, or there's like no detail in the background. I am gonna add the little for Vicky. So we're gonna do that. We'll add the little laughing motion that he has for Boo. And so I'm gonna hide that. And since I have the English translation up here, I'm gonna go by that. And we're gonna just do what we can for the look of the characters.
Hollywood bows to my unmatched fame. I snap my fingers and world's at my feet. Paparazzi follow me down every street. Got a magic touch you can't deny.
We are going to do
with just one slide. I'm the king of this town. I know I am that great. Got the magic and charm that you'll appreciate.
Actually, I think I'll handwrite this one. Panel.
I'm the man who makes your heart skip a beat.
So let's do
directors and agents all come to me.
Because it's a special writing of the tone.
Smile, it's the key to the city. They try to mimic, but no one's close. I own the stage, I am the ultimate host. Even in the rain, I never lose my glow. Watch how I shine wherever I go. Awards and accolades stack up high. I'm the legend and I touch the sky. I'm the king of this town. I know I am that great. Got the magic and charm that you'll appreciate. Every scene I steal with just a little wink. I'm the man who makes your heart skip a beat.
Alright. Now, so when I do a comic, I tend to use one particular font. A lot of people, go to Comic Sans or whatnot. There's a font I have come to love that is Comic Sans adjacent, but it is not Comic Sans. And it is what is traditionally done with professional comics. And that one is called Digital Strip. There's also Kabuki or whatnot. But I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm gonna do ... The line originally is "gonna fight me." So we're gonna do twerp. Gonna fight me. Question mark. And the question mark is like down here. So we'll do twerp. Gonna fight me. And then it's heh heh. Are you? Okay, so this is a continuation. Really. Actually, so. Okay, let's do instead of that. Instead of twerp there, we'll do twerp elsewhere. So gonna fight me, we'll do gonna fight me right. Then we'll do twerp. How do I spell twerp? Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm definitely misspelling it. Holy crap. So, E-R-P. And then we go back to the scene here. One line there, and then
I've been searching for something, a reason to stay, but all I found was darkness leading me astray.
the kid's gonna be like, no.
Now I'm reaching out.
Period.
Can you hear my call? I need you here with me to save me from this.
I'm gonna.
Save me from myself.
Now, here's where I'm at a conundrum. We're taking a character from a kids show and giving her the lines that Gohan gives, which is "I'm going to kill you." I'm gonna sit on this as we finish up this here and see if there's a better set of line, but I do think we have a better choice. It's fitting that she's saying this, but so you exclamation point I beat you up for double exclamation. And normally it's just, oh yeah, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, twerp, because it's her catchphrase, dude. Okay. Now, there are a couple different ways you can go about word balloons. And in fact, I'm going to have to move a word balloon and a word or a panel. Let's see here. Where is... Okay, it's on this layer. This needs to be moved up above the leg. Here. We have standard tools. So, I mean, if I wanted to do a word balloon, there's a standard tool. But I also have preset balloons. And I think these are going to be closer to what we need here.
Watch the artist draw for you. Dining and doodles at their best. Place your orders, be our guest. A burger with a sketch on side. In this diner, art and taste collide. Cheeseburger with a cartoon face.
And you guys will see what I mean. Pop this out a little bit.
Fries and a portrait on the plate. This diner makes your spirits elevate.
Do a little balloon tail.
Place your
to the shoe.
A burger with a sketch on side. In this diner, art and taste collide. In the corner near the fries, an artist plays with bright
And from this point on, I think what I'll do is balloon pen these. So I do my own panel, sort of word balloons. We're gonna try and keep these in line here. And see, this is what I was afraid of, because it can't. It's not going to be kind of similar to how they have it set up. I'm not going to get the same setup as they do. So let's try it that way, and then from there. No, that's not going to work. Shoot. I'll try and keep it as straight as I can. And we'll adjust the lettering to where we need to.
I watch you laugh when she's around.
This is another rejected Witchn. And mainly, I enjoyed these songs, but it didn't fit the story. So it's like, I didn't want to get rid of them. And I was like, they'll work for added stream content.
She calls you sweet. You're lost in pink. But I'm the one who knows you stink. I held your hair when you got sick. She can't do that with her perfect tricks. She's stealing my time. She's stealing my view. Does she know I'd bake a cake for you? Don't need her smirk, her hair's a mess. I'm your best friend and your love confess. She sends her text with hearts in suits. I write full novels, unsent truth. She'll make you lunch, store-bought and flat. While I've been
You guys haven't seen me do this at all! I'm sorry.
Do you see her shadow cast my way? It's cold and dark, won't you make her delay? She won't climb trees or jump that creek. I dare you find one other tucked in this unique.
Normally, when I personally do balloons, I don't like doing two in the same scene, but apparently Toriyama kind of liked doing this. So, because he did it on all the talking panels in this page. Alright, we still need to do some more work on the background on this page, or this panel. So, let's work a bit on that.
She's stealing my time, she's stealing my view. Does she know I'd bake a cake for you? Don't need her smug smirk, her hair's a mess. I'm your best friend, and your love, confess. In moonlight silence, he moves with grace. The blade he wields a ghostly face. Once a child with gentle dreams, now a storm in whispered screams.
And well, this is pretty much it. So I'm gonna take the select off and show you all. There's not much more I can do to this. So ironically, we're about 20 minutes left, but so I'm gonna switch between this and the original, so you can see the original, how it's set up. There's the original and how it was drawn. And here's the parody and how it was drawn. Like I said, I don't normally do these. I think we're going to probably wind down here. I had a lot of talk about the war. Essential war air quotes. I wish I could raise my fingers and show off the quotes, but I can't really do that there. In other words, yeah, don't panic. We're not at that stage yet. It can be, definitely can be if they keep playing the way they're playing. But as of right now, we're not there. And I do want to thank a few people before we call it a night. So let me thank. This is King Trophy who asked for this. King Trophy 22 on DeviantArt. Thank you for the request today to do a Vicky version from Fairly Odd Parents versus Annie from Little Einsteins, replicating the scene from Gohan versus Boo from Dragon Ball Z. Interesting drawing to take place nonetheless. Again, tomorrow night we will be on 7% versus the World over on YouTube. Come and join us. We're going to be talking about Galaxy Express 3.9. You can check if you've seen the movie, join in, or if you haven't seen the movie, join in and check it out. Classic anime series turned anime film. And we'll be talking about that on the stream tomorrow night. And we'll be back on Friday with Hogwarts Legacy Part 2. We'll be doing that. I do want to thank our chatters for the evening. So let me go all the way up here. Thank you for Damien Angry Birds joining in and chatting on Twitch. Thank you to Bob Lippard over on YouTube, dropping and saying, chatting as well. And Lizzie the Boo. Thank you for joining in on Kick. Glad to see Kick representing as well on here. As always, go out there and be the best you that you can be. That just means, hey, if all you can do is get up in the morning and look at the day, then, you know, that's something to face. You know, that's the best you can do. But, you know, always strive to be a bit better. That's part of the reason I took on Love Potion Lament as a challenge. I hadn't done a full-on comic in one sit go in a while. I was like, let me get my dust off the rust and actually compete on a professional level. And that will be out this weekend. So people can look out for that. In fact, I will open the first pit or the cover for it because it's deserving to have the cover up here on the screen. That's not it. That's Witchn. Yep, coming out Sunday across multiple hosting platforms. Will be Love Potion Lament, and you'll be able to read the full 16-page comic. Well, technically 17 because it's got a cover, but you'll be able to read the whole chapter all in one go, all dropped at one time. It's gonna be on DeviantArt, and it's gonna be on my on the Witchn page on Embryo Arts. So Embryo Arts /Witchn with a capital W. I am not going to release this yet on other platforms other than Manga Draft, which is where it's supposed to go for this competition. Later, I will drop this all for all other chapters or places, but I am going to put it on our main Witchn page, and I will put it on DeviantArt for DeviantArt fans, and of course Patreon sponsors. You'll be able to read it probably by tomorrow night when I get done with the wording, word balloons and all that, and the one panel I have left to draw. So I'm glad to get it done and get it through, and it was a nice little step away from the norm to do, and now I look to challenge back on doing that kind of work with the regular work. So I thank you all for joining in tonight. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, a wonderful week, and a wonderful year. Stay safe out there tonight. Good night, everybody.
Water flows in and then
Lights go downstreams and thanks for time we spent. Laughs and smiles all through night. With you, it feels just right. Signing off. Don't forget, like, comment, song. Signing off. Ring the bell and show some love. Good vibes, share the fun ride. With you, I'm filled with pride.